इंडिया में एक कंपनी है जिसने सबसे ज्यादा पैसा बना के दिया है इन योर एंड माई लाइफ टाइम। 10 गुना 10 साल में, 100 गुना 20 साल में, 1000 गुना 30 साल में, 24,000 गुना 40 साल में। 24,000x ग्रेटेस्ट कंपाउंडर इन इंडियन हिस्ट्री। कंपनी का नाम क्या है? एशियन पेंट। अच्छा, एशियन पेंट हर 3.5 साल प्रॉफिट डबल करता है। लास्ट 3.5 साल में भी किया है। एशियन पेंट्स के सीईओ का नाम अमित सिंगले। सो वंस अगेन सेम पॉइंट, द पीपल हु मैटर इन इंडिया, every single one of them, neither will you know their name, nor even if they walked in, you wouldn't recognize. All the lallu, shallu, pallu, the looters and the crooks, उनका नाम आपको, not just आपको, पूरे आबादी को पता होगा, right? Because they want you to know their names. The fellows who are making serious money, the reason I called the book Unusual Billionaires, the fellows who are making serious money, they don't want you to know their name. They're not in the public limelight. They make sure they're never on TV.
Hi guys. So today we are going to discuss about one of the most successful companies of India, Asian Paints, which is a market leader in its category, and also it has been able to deliver consistently the numbers for the past more than 7 consecutive decades. This video will help you understand what goes on inside the organization and what is their perspective on future and how they maintain their growth. So let us begin the video. Persistence is what makes the impossible possible, the possible likely, and the likely definite. This is Robert Half, and I think this is how we can define Asian Paints as well. So the story of Asian Paints takes us to the year 1942, which was a tumultuous one. World War II was on, and British forces were battling Germany in Europe and Japan and in Sri Lanka. During the war, there was a temporary ban on the import of paints in India. Spotting this opportunity, a 26-year-old young entrepreneur, Champaklal Choksey, with 3 of his friends, Chimanlal Choksi, Suryakant Dani, and Arvind Vakil, set up Asian Paints in Mumbai. This is from where the story of Asian Paints begins. Choksi was a keen observer of the market scenarios, and he would identify 2 or 3 strategies and run them parallelly and ultimately identify which one works best for them and implement that strategy. In the year 1940s and 1950s in India, paints was a commodity business. In local parlance, it was called Chuna. Choksi and his friends tried to get into the distributor network of the paint companies, but they were unsuccessful. So they decided to go into the rural market. Choksi was a keen observer. So during the Pongal festival in Tamil Nadu and the Pola festival in Maharashtra, he noticed that villagers worship their bulls, and this requires a specific kind of color for the horns of the bull, and the colors needed to be bright and in small quantities. Similarly, the bottom panel of the houses in Tamil Nadu were required to be painted with the colored stripes, and this opportunity of small SQAs struck Choksi, and he was able to break into this market. After the success of this strategy, a lot of big distributors which were not interested in engaging in Asian Paints, they started partnering with Asian Paints, and that is how Asian Paints moved from rural to the urban landscape. In the Indian market, there were 2 products. One was distemper and another was the expensive plastic emulsion. While the distemper was cheap, but it has the tendency of peeling off the walls. Plastic emulsion was really expensive. Thus was launched Asian Paints distemper, which was placed in between dry distemper and the expensive plastic emulsion. As the brand grew, Asian Paints launched its mascot Gattu in 1954. During the 1950s, the profit before tax for Asian Paints was 2% and 5% PBT per capital employed ratio. During 1950 to 62, its revenue grew at a CAGR of 21%, with margins rising to 13% by 1962 and PBT per capital employed rising to 26%. In the 1970s, Asian Paints was the first company to buy mainframe computers in India. This really showed that they were really looking ahead in time. In 1984, Choksi was succeeded by his son Atul Choksi, who expanded the Asian Paints manufacturing into West, South, and even in North, Uttar Pradesh. Also by the year 1982, before Atul became the managing director, Asian Paints had already done its IPO. Atul Choksi also ventured beyond India. He went into a technical collaboration arrangement with Nippon Paints for automotive finishes in 1995, and powder coatings in 1992. Joint ventures for paints in Fiji, Tonga, Nepal, and Vanuatu in 1990, and Queensland in 1995. In 1997, after Choksi passed away, his son Atul Choksi wanted to expand aggressively, but his expansion plans were opposed by the three other partners, thereby making Atul Choksi exit the company by selling 9% of his stake, which was finally blocked by the three directors, and the company which bought the stake sold 4.5% to a domestic mutual fund, and the remaining it went back to Asian Paints. After this episode, Asian Paints hired a management consultant called Booz Allen Hamilton, and there were 4 key points which were given by the consultant. The best practices of all the manufacturing plants were brought together to improve operating efficiencies. Working capital cycles were brought down by rationalization of both raw material and finished goods inventory management processes. The bandwidth of managers was freed up so that they are able to focus on the core activities rather than focusing on the inefficient manual processes. And also, it was recommended to improve the organizational structure across 3 business units of domestic, decorative, international, and industrial paints. And also, Asian Paints started to rely on the IT infrastructure. It procured supply chain management system, also the ERP system for managing the in-house resources better. So its international business foray was not doing that great, but it started expanding into the domestic market with the launch of a new vertical, home improvement division. They acquired Sleek, a modular kitchen player in India, and followed by acquisition of SS, a bathroom fitting company in India. The fundamental idea behind this was to become a decor solutions provider to the customer. On the contrary, erstwhile paint industry leaders like Jensen and Nicholson saw a steep decline in their market share during the 1990s because of unrelated diversification. Now we will try to understand the Asian Paints from the lens of the IBAS framework, which is innovation, brand, architecture, and strategic assets. Now in terms of innovation, Asian Paints always had the feeling of the pulse of the customer. That's why it was able to continuously improve and innovate new products. For instance, the launch of washable distemper in the 1950s, color shades and smaller pack sizes for the horns of cattle and spokes. As a result, at a time when most paint companies in India were focusing on institutional customers and large distributors in urban areas, Asian Paints started with the rural area and then slowly came back to the urban areas. In terms of the supply chain management, the large multinational companies had deep pockets and they were able to offer 180 days of credit, while on the other hand, Asian Paints had to manage with its cash. They were able to offer an innovative strategy to the distributors, where the distributors could get a cash discount if they are able to pay back within the time. A shopkeeper could be eligible of a discount up to 3.5% if he was able to make the payment on time. Apart from these, the 2 most innovative strategies followed by Asian Paints were use of mainframes in the early 1970s to forecast demand for better inventory management, also using GPS for tracking movement of trucks carrying finished goods in the channel. Also, one of the innovative things which Asian Paints was able to do during that time was to allow full control to middle and senior management. In this way, the middle and senior management, who were the professionals, were able to take control of the situation and define a direction for Asian Paints. The second generation of entrepreneurs from the promoter were also involved in the management of the team, but they were asked not to interfere in the workings of the senior and middle management professionals. Now in the IBAS framework, we will discuss about the branding part of Asian Paints. Asian Paints is the only paint company which has strong brand recall even for its sub-brands, both in economy like Gattu and Utsav as well as for premium like Royale and Apex. All the other paint companies have been able to create brand recall only for the mother brand. In 2002, Asian Paints did the entire rebranding exercise. They realized that a house is the most important thing for an individual after the family. So they came up with the campaign Har Ghar Kuch Kehta Hai, which really did well for them. They tried to personify paint as a mechanism to transform and personalize every individual home. In 2012, Asian Paints came up with another rebranding exercise which gave it its new logo. The AP design is highlighting the easy flow, smoothness, dynamism and possibility that our solution and offerings will provide. Now in the iBurst framework, we come to the third part, which is the architecture. Asian Paints was able to create a unique architecture within its organization. Asian Paints architecture included creating a unique working culture, using IT to improve competitive advantage and creating a truly independent board of directors. Also, one of the key aspects of architecture of Asian Paints is their culture of promoting their employees. The employees who perform within the company are promoted very fast. One of the guys who joined Asian Paints within 6 months after giving a good performance was promoted to heading one of the regional distribution centers. This speaks a lot about Asian Paint. Another important aspect is that the appraisals are given on time. These are genuine appraisals which help the candidates to assess themselves and also give an opportunity to the management to assess the candidates. These are not the blame game appraisals that generally happen in a lot of organizations. This really gives confidence to the employee and they are able to learn and perform better. So the employee keeps on learning and keeps on growing and he might spend 10 to 15 years in the organization. The second generation of entrepreneurs are also there, but they have strict instructions to not to interfere in the management of the employees. Asian Paints also knows that they are not the best paymasters to the senior management and the top management, but they are the best paymasters to clerks, workers and the other employees who are on a lower level. This really helps Asian Paints in keeping the bottom of the pyramid management intact. The rationale behind this for the Asian Paints is that they know that the top management wants to get experience in Asian Paints, and after getting 4 to 5 years experience they will get better salaries. But those who really stay back in the company for 10 to 15 years are really taken care of by the organization, to the extent that they become almost a part of the Asian Paints family, where they are given support during their ups and downs of the life. Asian Paints also works on the supply chain efficiency and on the working capital management. The Bhadut plant of Asian Paints began with approximately 1600 workers for the manufacturing plant, but when the Ankleshwar started production, it had only 250 workers for the same capacity, and Asian Paint itself improvised on that, and when they started a new plant near Hyderabad, Patancheru, it was less than 100 workers in the year 1985. So we can see that Asian Paints have been improvising on how they manage the plant, and they have been reducing the number of workers, basically the fixed cost for the company. Another important about Asian Paints is the KRA, key result areas. These are the specific result areas which are clearly communicated to the employees, how their work is going to affect the return on investment for the company. A former purchase manager in the company, he mentioned that he had a clear instruction on improving the return on capital employed. He had clear understanding of his working and the relation between his work and the return on capital employed. This gave him clarity on what kind of objectives he has to set for himself so that it gets reflected and measured in the return of capital employed. This is really a great way in which a purchase manager is able to relate his performance to the return on capital employed directly. No doubt because of this, the return on capital employed of Asian Paints has been very good for the past more than 7 decades. Now coming to the supply side, one of the largest dealers of Asian Paints in Mumbai told that he orders 5 to 10 times daily and he receives the supplies 3 to 4 times daily. This requires a lot of close coordination between the suppliers as well as Asian Paints. It is because of efficiencies like this that Asian Paints has been able to beat the competition. Now Asian Paints has started to incentivize the dealers if they place the order online, and they are able to make approximately 500 to 10,000 rupees of profit if they are able to follow this process. This is to incentivize and move the bulk of the dealer engagement online. Also, Asian Paints is really known for its independent board of directors. In a lot of organizations, the board of directors are acquaintances and the people who are known to the promoters, but with Asian Paints, more than 50 to 60% of directors are independent, and they are there because they know the business and they can contribute positively to the business. This is also one of the reasons why Asian Paints has been doing well. Now in the IBOS framework, we have come to strategic assets. So what are the assets which have really helped Asian Paints to really beat the competition? So there are several strategic assets for Asian Paints. These are wide geographical spread of its supply chain network, deep rooted relation with the paint dealers. Both of these assets have been built over the past 7 decades and are near to impossible to replicate by the competitors. Asian Paints has one of the largest manufacturing units and depots across India, thereby helping it to reach out to a large number of suppliers. Also, the dealers which Asian Paints has is the largest. Also, coming to the distributor and dealer side, Asian Paint has one of the largest distributor and dealers network. So the number which we have is, the numbers are a little older, but it can still give an idea of how efficient Asian Paints is. It has the largest number of dealers, 35,000 versus 25,000 for Berger. With only 125 depots in its supply chain, its revenue per depot is approximately rupees 100, more than twice that of the next highest, which is around rupees 40 crore per depot for Kansai Nerolac. Similarly, its revenue per factory is approximately rupees 1500, twice that of next highest, which is 700 crore for Kansai Nerolac. So it is able to have a high number of dealers, highest number of revenue per manufacturing plant as compared to its closest competitors. The future for Asian Paints and the paints industry in India is on a path of change. It is on a path of disruption. Asian Paints seem to be preparing for the future by investing in business related to homes such as kitchenware and bathroom fittings, and also it has started to provide its services that could disrupt the traditional Indian model of hiring painters to paint their homes. The rationale behind this is that when Asian Paints started, the cost of labor for a particular activity in painting a home was approximately 10%, and recently the labor cost of painting a home has risen from 10% when the Asian Paints started to approximately 60 to 70%. This might mean that in future a lot of people might be interested in buying tools to paint their home themselves. They might be doing DIY, do it yourself, or maybe looking forward to the companies who are providing some additional services. In the future, the customer might not be looking at paint only as a product, but might prefer to go to a company which provides some value addition in terms of services. That is why Asian Paints is foraying into kitchenware and other related accessories. So if you go to their website, we can see that Asian Paints has gone into these different domains. It is into tiles, it is into kitchenware, and also into other related categories, as we can see on the screen. For its service-oriented model, Asian Paints has tried several models. One is opening of experience stores in Mumbai, Delhi, and Kolkata, color idea stores, home solution painting services, and introduction of Royal Play high-end texture paints. You can also go for a color consultancy services with Asian Paints and take their view on what kind of color would suit your home. So if we look at the whole IBOS framework, it is able to give us a good view of why Asian Paints has been able to excel for the past 7 decades within paints industry in India, and we hope that Asian Paints has learned its lesson very well in the past 7 decades, and it is well poised to take on the competition and maintain the same return on capital employed, which is approximately 25% for many years to come. I hope this video was interesting for you and it could help you in understanding how a company looks at the future and tries to improvise on its learning, and most importantly in the case of Asian Paints, how it has been able to learn its lessons very well in the last 7 decades and has been able to implement the learnings over a longer period of time, giving it a competitive moat against its competitors. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.